Here's a way to quickly and easily make your block letters a little bit more interesting and stand out a little bit more from a distance. So I started with writing the letter with a yellow marker. This is a great way to start just a basic block letter. If you only want to create just a really simple basic block letter, then you can just stop here. You can either color the inside a solid color, either solid yellow or darker than the color that you used to draw that original letter, or you can leave it plain. The yellow marker tends to disappear if from a distance. You could also do that in pencil and then erase it, or do it on a separate piece of paper, like with a black marker on a separate piece of paper, put it under the paper and then trace over it. So those are just some options for basic block letters. But now to make those basic block letters a little bit more interesting. So Q is kind of a weird letter. It's not used very often, but it's a fun letter to draw. There's a lot you can do with it. It's a kind of a playful letter because it has that tail. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using wavy lines to make the edges of that Q a little bit more interesting. I just used kind of two big bumps on the top of the tail that's in the inside of the Q. And now what I'm doing, I'm just adding a wavy line on the inside of the letter itself going around there. And you can leave that line just open as it is, but I like to go back and color them in solid so that those lines and waves and bumps are solid, like a nice, bold, dark color. So I generally use black, but you could use, whatever dark color you want. As you can see, the yellow does disappear. So that's not recommended for things you want to be seen from a distance. So I'm continuing that. I'm just drawing wavy lines on the outer edges of this letter. As you can see, these, I was just doing like a kind of a quick random line. It's kind of a messy one. This one, I'm not really too concerned about making it neat, which might sound kind of crazy and counterintuitive, but the more you think about making your lines perfect, no matter what you're drawing, the stiffer they look, the more uncomfortable they look. And they look uncomfortable because you can just see the discomfort in your arm that created them. Because generally what happens is your arm gets kind of tense, and that shows in the lines, and you don't want that. So I just went back and I colored all those lines in, the bumps, so solid black. Some were inside the Q, some outside the Q, a variety. Kind of keeps it interesting. Some thick, some thin. Now I'm just adding a few little what's called action lines to give the letter a little bit more depth, a little bit more interest, a little bit more movement. But there you go. It's a simple way to make a basic block letter just a little bit more interesting.